Hi, I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and you have come to the right video if you are trying to learn Vectric. This video is going to take you to the next level of design. This is a step-by-step from concept to completion of an American flag. And what we're going to do is we are going to take a flag, and we're going to put an emblem on it, but we're going to break it down into its constituent components and organize all our stuff up front to make our life a lot easier. This is an order of operations video, but you are going to get a lot more than you ever anticipated because you are going to learn so many tips and tricks in the Vectric software that even Vectric doesn't teach. This is a long video, but I can promise you, you are going to learn more than you would if you watched 50 hours of YouTube and 15 hours of Vectric. Because you're going to learn some stuff that you didn't even know existed. So we're going to dive into Vectric. I'm going to show you what we're going to do, and then we're going to dive in and start doing it. So let's go. This is what we're going to be designing today, this American flag with the eagle on it. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to break it down into its constituent components. The banner, the stripes, the eagle, and the entire body. And we're going to build it up based on its ratios and then make it to the size that we want. I'm going to show you how to color everything. And one of the things you're going to learn is how to do the stars in this type of fashion. It's very tricky. And then you're going to learn about V-carving in a very different way. And one of the things that you're really going to pick up is how to eliminate funny V-cuts and V-grooves. But here's one of the little special features that most people don't know, is this flat bottom in the V-grooving. This eagle is a V-groove, but we have a flat bottom in it. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And you are going to learn so many little tips and tricks that it's going to blow you away. You will absolutely be at the next level. So let's get started on this design. And by the way, if you are interested, I have this vector available on Etsy. The link is down below in the description, and you can just follow with the second half of the video how to set it up with the tooling, with the router bits, get the toolpath set up right. All right, so let's take off with this. First thing I did was go to Google and typed in American flag dimensions. There's lots of results, but this is the one that I found that has what I want. So American flags have specific ratios as far as the dimensions go. And that's what we're going to be working with. But I want to just dissect the flag a little bit. The overall height of the flag is called the hoist. And the length of the flag is called the fly. So I'll be using those terms a bit. And then, of course, we have the stars, we've got the union, everything's got dimensions that keeps everything in a ratio, and that's what this table tells us here. So, as you're building the flag, you're going to refer back to your table as you construct it. And the first element of this flag is the overall size, the hoist and the fly. But the one thing I want you to understand is we are going to be working with ratios. So I'm going to be working in inches, but it doesn't matter if you're working in millimeters, miles, feet, kilometers. Everything's built in ratio. So we are going to be using ratios, and then we'll expand the flag to the size that we want. So we're going to go into Vectric, and we are going to open up a project. And our project size is going to be 24 inches by 24 inches by 3/4 of an inch thick. We're going to go off the top of the material, and we're going to be in the lower left corner. And we're going to select OK. So we are going to create this flag in 4 elements. That means we want 4 layers to work on. So the first thing we're going to do is create the layers. Right now we have one single layer. So I'm just going to go right down here to add new layer, and I'm just going to add 3 more layers. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go in and name the layers. So I'm clicking layer number 1, and I'm going to click it again, and I'm going to call this flag body. And we're going to go to layer number 2, and we're going to call that stripes. Layer number 3, we're going to call that union. And layer number 4 is going to be eagle. In fact, we need a 5th layer. We want the stars. I think I'm going to put the stars in our own layer. So we're just going to add that and enter stars. So when you start off on a project, you want to try to dissect it before you actually start, so you can create your layers and it'll save you a lot of effort later. Now, the features we're going to be working with are creating rectangles and rectangular arrays, and then we're going to be using the offset function, cut, and a couple other functions. And then we're going to go into the toolpaths to show you how to set those up. First thing we want to do is create the body of the flag. So we want to be on that layer, and so we're going to switch over to that layer, and now you can see up top it says flag body. So we are on it. So we're going to get the dimensions of the flag body, and we're going to go over to our dimension here. So the hoist is 1 inch tall, or 1 tall, and the fly is 1.9 wide. Since I'm going to be working in inches, that's the numbers I'm going to be using. So we're going to go back to Vectric and we're going to go into rectangle right here. And the first thing we want to set is where our pick point is going to be. We're going to build this from the lower left corner, or the 0 point right down here, and build the flag to the right and up. So that means we need to select the lower corner of this rectangle. Now the dimensions right here don't matter to us. They would matter if we wanted to have the rectangle be placed in a specific location without us actually going out and picking it. But we can just go in and pick the location. So these numbers are irrelevant. And then we want to make sure we're set on square corners. And now we're going to enter in our dimensions. So our width is 1.9 and our height is 1. And we're going to come over to the corner of the flag, and if you watch my cursor, right now there's a rectangle over it and it's in a little plus where the cursor is, and the minute it grabs that corner, the cursor changes to a bullseye. Now, one of the things you want to have on are your snap features up here, so will snap to those corners. And I click it, and there is our first rectangle. Now, the first thing you see is that's an awfully small rectangle for a flag. So what we're going to be doing is building a flag, and then we'll expand it to the size that we want. The next thing we're going to do is build the union. So we're going to change our layer to a union. Now the union has a dimension, and it of course is in the upper left corner, so we want to reference that corner and build to the right and down. So that means we need to change our pick box up here to the top. Now let's go get the union dimensions. So we're going to go back over, and the union height is 0.5385, and the length or the width is 0.76. So we'll go back to our drawing, and our width is 0.76 and our height is 0.5385. And we're going to come and let our pick box grab that little corner right there on the upper left of the flag and click it. And there is our union. Okay, so we've done the body of the flag and the union, and you've learned a bit about rectangles and how to place them specifically where you want them with the right size and using ratios on the flag. Now we're going to get into the stripes, and we're going to do a little bit with what's called rectangular arrays, but we're also going to modify these stripes in a way so it shows up on the flag even better. So let's dive into the stripes and show you how that's done. So now we have the union, now we want to do our stripes. So we are going to go back to our layers and switch to stripes. Our stripes are now highlighted up here. So now we need to get the dimensions of our stripes. We know the stripes go the entire length of the flag, so that's going to be a 1.9. We just need to get the height now. So we're going to go back over to the website, and the stripes height is L. So we look at that, and it's 0.0769. Back to Vectric, open up our rectangle, and we're going to start our stripe at the lower left corner here. So we're going to change our pick box up here, and now we're just going to set our width and our height. So our width is 1.9 and our height is 0.0769. And then I'm going to select the lower corner, and there is our stripe. Now, if you want to create white stripes and red stripes, create a separator, we're going to do something. In fact, that's what we're going to do. So instead of having this where there is no red stripe, we're going to actually put red stripes in. But we want a divider between the white stripes and the red stripes. So we are going to go into this, and we are going to do a little bit of an offset on our stripe, where we're going to create a second rectangle on the inside. So down here in offset and layers, we're going to pick the first item, which is called offset. And we want this to offset on the inside, so we're going to select inside. And then we are going to pick our number. So we have a number of 0.0769, so this has to be kind of a small number. So we're going to do this at 0.01. And let's see what happens. So now the rectangle has to be selected while we're doing that. We pick that, and I think that will look pretty good. You got to remember there's going to be another one up above it, and it's actually going to, I think it's going to be a little wide here. So I'm going to Control Z that, and I'm going to change that to 0.008 and apply. So we will roll with that. And now what I'm going to do is select that rectangle. And I'm going to close this. I'm going to go into the rectangular array, which is down in offset and layers, and layout. It's the second button, and I'm going to select that. And now you can see this item is selected. So we want to offset this at the proper distance. Now what I say, we're going to copy it upward, and we want to offset it so it's evenly spaced. So we need to use the number that's going to space it evenly, which is the width of the true stripe. That would be from this point to this point. And that was at 0.0769. So we know that we have 13 stripes, and we're going to run them up this way. That means they're going to be going up in a column. We need one column and 13 rows. Rows are always side to side, and columns are always up and down. So it would be one column, 13 rows. And our distance in Y right here is going to be 0.0769. And we want to be on offset. If you have gap selected, it's going to come out a little funny. We just want it to offset by the amount here, and we want 13 copies of it. So we are good to go with that. We're going to come down and select copy. And now we have our 13 stripes, and we have boundaries between them, so we can do red and white stripes. So now we have our whole flag, but we want to do something here. We want to get rid of this first rectangle that we drew. So we're just going to click it and delete it. And then a couple other things I want to do here as well is I want to round out some corners here. This is going to be a pretty sharp flag, but we will take care of that in a little bit. One of the first things we have to do right now is get rid of the stuff inside of the union, and we need to close off what we cut away. Now I'll show you what I mean. First thing I'm going to do is turn off the layer with the outside boundary. That's the flag body. So we click that and that turns off. And we are going to be cutting the stripes. So we want to make sure we're on the stripes layer. If we are not, if we're on a different layer, whenever we cut something, that'll put the objects that are remaining on that new layer. So we're on stripes, and we're going to close this and go over to the cut feature. And all I'm going to do is hold my left mouse key down while I'm inside the union and just drag right on across those rectangles. And now we have our pretty much basically our flag. But we still have a lot of work to do. Now I'm going to close this, and I want to turn off the union now because I want to see what my stripes look like. So you see what's going on here? Our stripes are open vectors. We need to close those vectors up. So what we're going to do is grab the polyline tool. I'm going to click that. And we're going to grab this corner of the top line. And we're going to come down and grab the corner of the bottom line of the open vector. And then we're going to hit escape. And now we have a line going up there, and we're going to grab our cut tool again. And we're going to come in and just cut each one of these out. Just like that. I'm going to escape to turn off the cut feature, and there we are. Now we are, if you look at that, I click it, it clicks it as one vector. I want to show you something in the cut feature, so I'm going to click it again. And right down here is a check mark, and that check mark says when we exit the cut feature, it's going to connect the new loose vectors to whatever vectors it can. And that meant that it's going to connect each one of these lines to the rest of the rectangle. So we are set to go with that. So our stripes are done, our basic flag is done. Now it's time for the stars. Stars. This one's going to be a little tricky to explain, but it's a lot of fun to do. And once you get the concept, you're going to get it. We're going to dive a little deeper into rectangular arrays so we get those stars placed in the staggered fashion that they are on a flag. So you're going to learn a whole new level of how to do this kind of thing. So let's get back to it. The first thing we want to do is turn the stripes off. So we're going to go up to layers and turn the stripes off. We're going to turn the eagle off. We'll leave the stars turned on, and we're going to go to the union and turn that on. And then we're going to click the stars. So we are working on that layer, and you know that when you see stars right up here. So stars are a funny thing. We have to use a rectangular array, but we have to use some interesting features here. And it's going to be a little challenging for me to explain to you why it's going to work the way it is. But if you follow along, I think you'll pick this up. The first thing we want to do is understand how our stars are placed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out where the first star shows up in this lower left corner. So we're going to go back to our dimension, and we see down here there's a number E, and when I go over here, the E is 0.054. So the first star starts from the bottom of the union at 0.054. And it goes inward with the G. So the G is 0.063. 0.063. I'm writing it down as we go. So I'm going to go back to the flag, and I'm going to create a rectangle to create my placement. So I went into the rectangle mode. I'm going to be building a rectangle from this corner of the union, so I want to be in the lower corner here. And I'm going to, again, ignore these numbers here because I'm just going to pick the corner. And my width was 0.063. And my height was 0.054. So our rectangle is set. I'm going to let the cursor, grab that corner, and click. And that is where our first star starts. Now, for a moment, it looked a little funny, but my numbers are correct. So the first star is going to be placed right at this corner, but we want to know how big the star is. So you get to learn another feature. This is cool. I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to go back to the flag, and I want to find out what the diameter of the star is. So there's an indicator right here, and that's K, and the diameter of the star is 0.0616. So we're going to go back into Vectric, and we're going to open up the star. And the first thing we want to do is make sure we have 5 points on our star, which we do. And we are going to work with the diameter of the star, which is right here. But now it says outer radius. So we only know the diameter. So we have to divide this by 2. And the way you divide a number by 2 is highlight the field so all the numbers are copied. And we'll go 0.0616 divided by 2 and press the equals button. And that's going to give our star radius. Now, when we select that corner, our star is anatomically correct. So I'm going to escape, and I'm going to delete that box. Our first star is in place. Now we have to put our 50 stars in. And I want to show you with the star. You know that these stars are offset for every line that they go down, and are offset for every row and every column. So this is where it gets a little screwy. We are going to use the array, rectangular array, and we already have our 2 dimensions. We have the 063 going side to side and the 054 up and down. Let's go back into Vectric. And we're going to select our star, and then we're going to go into the rectangular array feature once again. At this time, we're going to use columns and rows. So first thing we want to know is how many columns and how many rows do we have. So we're going to go to the flag and count them. So the columns up and down are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And the rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Back to Vectric. In columns, we're going to enter 11. And in rows, we're going to enter 9. This is where we have to tell Vectric to do something kind of interesting. First of all, we have our base dimension of 0.054 up and down and 0.063 side to side. So we're going to enter that in right here, and we're going to stay in the offset mode. So for X side to side, it's 0.063. And our Y up and down is 0.054. But now we have to tell Vectric to offset these. So this is where this feature comes in handy. So we want our X, as it goes up, we want the X to offset by 0.063 again. It's really hard to explain why this does what it's going to do. But I have to do this. So the Y is a 0.054. And the reason is because that's the stagger. We go 0.054 up and over, and then 0.05 down and over again. And that's what we're telling it to do right here. So I'm going to back this out just a little bit and click copy. And that's going to place all of our stars, but we obviously have too many stars. So what we're going to do is escape, and we're just going to highlight the stars in the boundary. And same thing here. I'm going left to right. So that means only the things that are fully enclosed in the pick box are going to be selected. And I delete that. And now we have 50 stars. So it's a little weird to try to explain why this happens that way, but our offset basically, again, is we are staggered up and over the same dimension, down and over the same dimension. So that's what we're typing into this box right here to get our offset. And when you're fiddling with it, it's probably going to take you a little bit of time to start to really grasp it, and you'll probably have as hard of a time to explain it as I will in layman's term where you can understand it. If you get it, then put down in the comments, clear as mud. So I'm going to close that. And I'm going to turn on some layers. Now I'm going to turn on our flag body and our stripes. And look at that, we have an American flag. So if we go to machine this out right now, it's going to be kind of cool. But I'm not going to machine it yet. What we want to do is now let's get our size. So I'm going to select the whole thing and then click it again, and now we have our bubbles showing up. And we are going to grab the inner corner bubble right here. But we're going to zoom out so we can get this thing to size the way we want to. And I'm just going to stretch it out. And we're going to stretch it out some more. I'm going to go almost the full 24 width of the board. Not quite though. So that's about the size we're going to be working with. This is pretty cool. So let's get this centered up. And we're going to center it dead smack in the middle of our project piece here. So we're going to select the Align Selected Objects button that is under Transform Objects. You select that, and all you have to do is hit this middle white button right here, and it's going to move everything into center. So we are looking good. We're going to close that down. Well, we've been hanging together for about a half an hour now. I'm kind of feeling like you're my buddy. Actually, you probably are by now. Hey, you have learned so much at this point. Rectangles and arrays and how to stagger the stars to get them the way you want, how to plan your projects up front. And yeah, if you feel like you've learned more than you have in the last 20 hours of YouTube, give me a thumbs up. What we're going to be doing now is get into the fun stuff. So now what we're going to do is put an eagle on that flag. What you're going to learn is how to grab a logo, turn it into a bitmap, get that bitmap traced, and then fix all the nodes so you don't have really screwy cuts. I don't know if you've done Vcarves before, but if you have and you're going, why am I getting these weird lines in weird places? You're going to learn exactly why and how to prevent that from happening. And you're going to learn how to place a logo in a flag and do something really special that you had no idea that you could do. You're going to love this part. So without further ado, after your pee break and my pee break, we're going to jump back into this. It's time to get our fourth element in here, the eagle's head. So when you do this, you can use any vector that you want. You're just going to have to do some doctoring up, and I'm going to show you an interesting way to doctor up your vectors really quick, because if you don't do this, you're going to have problems in your carve. It's not going to be clean. So the first thing is I'm going to import the eagle. So we're going to come up here to bitmap, import bitmap under File Operations, click that, and then you're going to go get your vector wherever it may be. And mine is right here. It's this eagle's head. So I'm going to double click it, and it's going to pop in right in the middle. Pretty cool eagle's head. So I'll just let you know I paid $60 for this vector. I could have bought it for $4, but obviously I'm going to go for the higher price. Now actually I paid $60 because that was the license fee for me to be able to sell this in any way, shape, or form, like in a project. So I'm going to put this vector on Etsy. So if you don't want to do the design work, but you want to do the toolpath work, then you can pick that up. There will be a link down below. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, I selected the vector, so I had my bubbles here, and I am going to expand it. Now, I'm going to hold the Shift button down, so everything stays pretty much on center. And I just want to get an idea about how big I want to expand this eagle's head. So we're pretty good size. I'm going to use my cursor button to start to move it to the right. I almost want to put this eagle across the union a bit. So I'm going to see it. The reason people don't do that very much is because it interferes with the stars. And it's hard to work around the stars in a V-carve. Let's see if I can do it. So I could do it like this right here. I could even maybe turn the eagle's head a little bit. I think it would look kind of cool centered up here. Let's just take a look and see. So I'm going to rotate the eagle's head just a little so I can do a little more jogging on it, where it's away from this star and this star, but I can delete this star and that star. So you can see it's pretty close right there. I'm not sure this is going to work. I'm going to move it over. If it wants to move, there it goes. And I'm going to rotate it a little bit more. Oops. Select it again. So the computer's a little slow with this vector. I'm not sure why. And so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do this so you understand how to do this yourself. So we're going to do this kind of the easy way. Okay, so just Control Z in until I get it back. And now we're going to move it over to the middle right here. And I want to get it centered up appropriately on this. Actually, it's a pretty good spot right there. This is where it's going to get really, really cool in this whole project. You're going to think this is definitely cool. All right, so we have the eagle. Not just cool, you're going to learn a ton in this little step alone. So first thing I'm going to do is turn off all my layers except for the eagle. But I'm going to leave the eagle layer on. I'm going to turn it on, and now you can see it is turned off because it's red, but it's active. I'm going to just click that light bulb so it's on, and this is where we're going to put the vector. So we're going to select the eagle's head and go use the trace bitmap, which is this little guy right here under create vectors. It's kind of like a paper airplane looking thing. We're going to click that. And Vectric is going to turn us into a grayscale type of model. And if you don't like the grayscale, sometimes if you're working with a picture, some things are a little shaded out. You can go to this threshold button right here and adjust it up and down and get the effect that you like. However, I like this. It's going to pick it up. So I'm just going to do preview down at the bottom and just place the vectors. I'm going to apply it, and I'm going to close it. And now we're going to go up and to the layers, and I am going to turn off the bitmap. And there is our eagle. So it doesn't look a lot like an eagle right there, but this will end up looking like the image that you just saw. But there's a couple problems in here, and you're going to run into this often when you're doing vector tracing, bitmap tracing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the node mode by pressing the N on the keyboard. And you know you're in node mode when you look at the cursor itself, and it's an arrow without the tail. And we're going to select one of our vectors. Now you see that there are a lot of black vectors. When you go to do a V-carve and you have black nodes in here, what is going to happen is every time it's the program, or when it generates a program and it sees that node, the tool, it programs it in a way that the router bit is going to pull out a little bit. And so it's going to leave a lot of corners and edges all along your V-carve, and it's not going to look very good. So what we want to do is turn all these into smooth nodes. Right now they're corner nodes. Effectively, they are the same nodes that you would find in a rectangle. Now I'm going to show you what I mean. I select a rectangle, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and I'm going to now go to node mode while I have to escape that. I'm going to hit N, and you see there's black corners. If you do a V-carve on this, the V-bit is going to come out of the corner of the box to make it look like there's a sharp corner all the way down. And that's the effect that you will get all over this project if you do not smooth out your nodes. So I deleted the box, I hit N again to get back in node, and I am selecting that. So here's how we fix this really quick. Instead of going into each node and trying to fix it up, you select the line and highlight, you select the line and you just select all of your lines like that. I'm holding my shift button down and I have now selected, you have to not cross over into ones that are already selected. And we have every one of these selected now. Lightning fast. Now you just come over to your left or your right and you're going to encompass the whole thing, and all your nodes are going to turn like a gray color, a grayish red. And you hit the letter S on your keyboard. And what that does is it smooths every single node. So I hit S, and now we have nothing but blue nodes across the whole board. So I'm going to hit Shift while I'm in node. I'm going to come over and select everything, and you see there's not a single black node in here. Now, sometimes it might get a little goofy on you. You might want to come in and check your corners, because sometimes what was a corner will now be like a big bubble, and you don't want that. So we're good to go. So this deal with the nodes that we just covered is going to be your godsend when it comes to having good carves. You learned a trick that nobody uses until now. So that was cool, but you think that's cool? Wait till you see what we're going to get into now. Now I'm going to show you how easy it is to put a boundary around a vector that has lots of vectors in it. Like the eagle's got the beak and the eye and the feathers, and all those are separate vectors. But we're going to put a boundary around that in a very simple way, and you're going to love this. So let's dive in. We're going to create an outline where the stripes will not come close to the eagle. So it'd be just kind of a border all the way around the eagle. And the way you do this is by using the offset command, which is right here in offset and layout. It's the first button. Select that. Then you're going to select all your outer boundary items, nothing on the inside. So I'm just going to, from the right, I'm going to click and drag over to the left. And so I have every outer boundary item selected except for the beak. Now I have to stop because I almost made a boo-boo. We're going to come up and create a new layer for this boundary. So, and you'll understand why in just a moment. So I just go up to layers, I'm going to add new layer, and I'm going to call it Eagle Boundary. And we're going to change the color of the eagle while we're at it so we can tell the difference between things. So I click the little black box there and pick the color that I want. I'm choosing red. So we are on layer Eagle Boundary. Now we are going to select all the outer items. So I click, I'm just going to drag across down below. Nothing on the inside selected. I just have to pick the beak, so I have to hold the shift key down and select that. And now we just want to figure out how far out do we want this boundary to be created. And I'm going to go with 1/2 inch, 0.5. And when I hit offset right here, then it said offsetting failed. Check vectors. And that's because it's set up on the inside. I want this on the outside right here. Now I do it again, and it creates a boundary all the way around. See that? And it closed all the vectors. Now it did create some stuff on the inside, and this is why I wanted to create the separate layer, so I could turn the eagle off and get rid of whatever pops up in the middle. So that's done. So that looks kind of a weird shape. We are going to run into this issue again with the vectors, or the nodes. I'm going to close this, and I selected that box, and I'm going to hit N, and you see we've got a bunch of black nodes again. So all we're going to do is select everything, and we are going to smooth it. So we're going to hit S. And now we have all smooth nodes.
With that one little trick, I'm sure that you are going, ooh, I can do something. And if that was good and you haven't done it by now, give me a thumbs up and maybe a comment. Comments always help my channel. That's why I ask for them. It gives YouTube like that engagement boost. Hey, just so you know, while we're here, I source router bits, so if you're brand new and you really don't know what router bits you want, you can go to my website, idcwoodcraft.com, or the link down in the description below where you can see what router bits I have. I sell them in sets for beginners because nobody sells sets like I do, and you'll get a bunch of extra perks when you buy them. Also, if you are interested in webinars, things like that, sign up to my email list. You'll get emails to know when I'm putting on webinars for beginners and for entrepreneurs. Speaking of entrepreneurs, you might want to join the CNC Entrepreneurs Facebook group. Our mission is to help each other make money with our CNC routers. So, yeah, little intermission here, huh? All right, so now we're going to get into putting the stripes back into the eagle, where we're going to use that boundary as stop points for the stripes, so the eagle pops out. This is just so cool. I love teaching you this stuff, especially when nobody else teaches it. So let's get in and get these stripes all fixed up.
So now we're going to switch our layer to stripes, and we're going to turn stripes on. So it says stripes up at the top, and we are going to now use our snipping tool. I want to take a look right here. So it kind of comes up. It doesn't quite touch right up there. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I'm just thinking of aesthetics. There's going to be a few weird spots down here, but we'll work with that in a little bit. What we want to do is get everything out of the middle first. So we're going to grab our scissors, and we are simply just going to start cutting everything away. So I'm going to hold the left mouse button down while I'm up here at the top, and I'm just going to drag it down. Now, if you cross over something you don't want to cut out, then just Control Z until it's all back. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to do it here, here, over here, here, and down here. So it looks like we got a little crossover right here as well. Okay, so that's part of the next thing. So we do want to get rid of that line. That's because that's what we're doing. Now, the next thing we want to get rid of are all the segments in between, because what we want to do is create a single closed boundary here, like a vector in the stripe rectangle, and we're not going to have that so long as this whole thing is still connected to itself. So I just wanted to take a look at that little loop there. That might be an issue, I'm not sure. So what we're going to do is now we're going to cut everything in between each stripe. I'm going to speed up so I can take care of that. Unless I run into an issue, then I'll slow this back down. Okay, so you see a little spot right here. It looks just kind of goofy. That's going to be noticeable on the flag when it's done, so we're going to fix that. Let's just keep trimming all this out because we want to take care of our trimming first, and then we'll do our aesthetic work. Yeah, I was debating on this eagle thing for a little bit because it was a little pricey, 60 bucks, but you know, I want to do it the right way. And oh, we forgot to get that line on the inside there, so we got rid of that line there, and we are going to need to cut that out, and we need to cut this one, and so we are set. So there's a little bit of goofy stuff going on up in here. And what do I want to do with this? I think we're going to be okay. So this little spot here, that would be part of one of the stripes on the inside. We're going to leave it as it is right now. And we're going to go up and fix this vector. So I'm going to hit escape to get out of the cut. And if I click this vector and hit N, there's just a whole bunch of nodes in there. I don't want to fiddle with that. So what we're going to do instead is go over to the curve under Create Vectors, and we're going to use the arc command. I'm going to click that, And with my snap turned on, I'm going to let it pick the corner point. And I'm going to let it pick the lower corner point as well. Let's just make sure. You can see a little button that pops in the corner. That way we know it clicked in. And then we're just going to create an arc that just misses this line. So we've got that. We're going to close it. And we're going to come back and snip that out. So now we have a nice clean line there. So let's take a look at the rest of these just to make sure. There might be a little goofiness there, but that's not going to be seen so well. We got a couple spots right here. I'm not going to worry about that one either. Maybe I will. We will put an arc in there as well. So I'm just going to select that corner and select this upper corner. And we're just going to create a gentle arc inward. We're going to close that and we're going to cut out the other piece. So I cleaned that up a little bit. And we'll move on down and around. There's another one that looks a little funny. In this case, I'm not going to create an arc. This is obviously going to be several arcs. So instead, I am going to go take care of some nodes. So we're going to select that and hit node. And this is the problem right there. All we have to do is drag that node in a little bit. So we're going to click it and drag it in. And then hit escape. And now that looks a lot better. When we come down this little corner, that's not going to be noticed. In fact, this little area right here is noticeable, but we're going to be cleaning out these slots with a 1/4-inch end mill. And it is not going to cut into there. It's just going to make a radius around there. So I'm not even worried about that. And oh, we got to cut that little piece out right there. I forgot to do that. That's why it was messed up. Okay, so we got that. And we got this one here. Okay, so that's better. And we got that one right there. And we have that one right there. All right. Now, I don't think the router bit is going to fit in this little pocket here, but we'll just leave it there. Obviously, it's not going to fit in that one. I'm just going to delete that one. We'll see how it looks when things are done. Okay, the rest of our aesthetics are looking pretty good. I think we're ready to go. So it is time to start setting up our tool paths.
Okay, so we are about 50 minutes into this. This was the whole design time. Again, I know that you've been here for a long time. I've got to hand it to you that you've made it through this far. In fact, you might want to say down in the comments, Garrett, I hung around. And like makes me go, yes, somebody really wants to know all this stuff and is really learning from this stuff. But that's what goes into doing all the design work. But now it's getting to the point where the rubber meets the road. We're going to get into the tool paths now. And organizing our tool paths and working on them when there's problems in tool paths. So this is the next step to making all this work into a beautiful finished project. Let's dive back in.
So we're going to go over to the toolpath area and we're going to pick out an order of operations. And our first order of operations are the stripes. And if you're going to do this with red and white, then you want to think about this from this vantage point before you even start cutting. That you are going to be cutting things with color. So you probably want to get the aura mask over your board. You're going to like paint your primary colors first. Then the primary colors would be your blue for your for the union. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you want the whole thing black, all the little lines black and the union black. But you want the board to be, with its base first color, to be painted on the board. But you'll also have to keep into account that that eagle is going to be painted too. So you have to kind of look at it, see how you want it painted, mask off all the stuff that you don't want painted. Maybe you just want to stain the whole thing. Do that too. And then put your aura mask on if you're going to paint stripes. There's a link down below for the stuff that I use. I think it's called 813, and it's sticky. It works. But I'm not going to do it in this video because I'm just showing you how to make this. I'm not going to actually make it on the router. Okay, so we are in Toolpaths, and we want to come up with our order of operations. So the first thing we're going to do are the stripes. Now we have white stripes and red stripes. And on a flag, the top stripe is red and the bottom stripe is red. So we are going to actually create another layer. And first of all, we're going to come into layers and we're going to change stripes. We're going to call that red stripes. And now we're going to create a new layer called white stripes. Now I wish I'd done this before because it would have kept the stripes layers together. And we're going to select OK. So right now, oh, it didn't take it. I have to type it in again. White stripes. The reason it didn't take it, you just need to click off of it. All right, so we're on the white stripes layer. You know that because it's selected there. And what we're going to do is just select each white stripe. I'm holding the shift button down. And again, I should have done this before. But this is part of the just piecing things together as you're moving along and realizing these are the things you do and they're habits that you pick up as you go. Okay, so the white stripes are selected. I'm just going to right click and come down to the bottom to move to layer, and I'm going to select white stripes. Now we're all set because the red stripes are already on the red stripes layer. If I turn the white stripes layer off, the red stripes are still on the red stripes layer. And I know that because the red stripes layer is the only other one picked. Now I'm just going to take out the eagle. There we go. So let's just do the red stripes first. And we're going to do these in a pocket mode. So we're going to select pocket right here. Click that, and we are going to do this with a 1/4 inch end mill. And we'll just go 0.1 deep. That's actually pretty deep, I think. We'll just go with 0.1. And we are going to be in offset mode. So what it's going to do, it's going to start in the middle, and it's going to go back and forth, working its way out. And that's about it. Now, I would suggest that every time you do this, if you are doing a down bit, that you go into the edit the passes and add a second pass, unless you've got a very rigid machine. So the second pass is this feature right here. And the reason being is because you can get steps in the bottom of your stripes, and you don't want that. And a lot of people, what this is going to do is going to create another pass, which means it's going to take twice as long to run your stripes. But you got to do the way out. Do you want to sand, or do you want to let the machine do the work so you don't have to sand? And second finish passes are very common in the machining industry. I've been in CNC for a very long time. So we're going to make it thin. We're just going to go 0.005. Now, 0.008. And we're going to click apply. Now, 0.008 is 8,000ths of an inch. Very, very shallow. So I'll click OK. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to name it red stripes. And I'm going to calculate. And it said no vector selected, so I have to select all these and then calculate. Now it said ignoring unsuitable open vectors. So I have open vectors somewhere and I'm not sure where. I'm going to say OK and see what it creates. So it missed a stripe here. So the way you go back, the way you fix this is we're just going to close that. We'll come back to this. We're going to go back to our design area and turn on our 2D and see what's going on with this. So I'm going to select all three of these. Something wrong here. What is it? So up here we have this toolpath feature turned on. You see all these little arrows when you generate your toolpath. If you want to get that out, you click the button called toggle toolpath, and that turns that off. So toolpath did run in there. Okay, so here's part of the problem right there, is I didn't clear that away. So this will solve the problem, I believe. So we just have to cut that out of there like that. And it looks like everything else is okay. That should solve it. So we close that, go back to our toolpath. We're going to go back into the red stripes. And we're going to, why did it turn everything on? I'm going to turn white stripes off. Somehow turn on the white stripes. I want to go to red stripes. I'm not sure what happened there. And I want to turn white stripes off. There we go. Oh, okay, that's why. I must have been on the white stripes layer. I have to cancel this? No, I don't. What we're going to do is we're going to turn on the white stripes, and we're going to select these two that need to be red stripes. Right click, move to layer, red stripes. And we're going to come back up and turn the white stripes off. And we are back to normal. So we are in this toolpath for the red stripes. I'm going to select everything, and we are going to calculate. I'm going to run this toolpath or preview the toolpath. Now we can't see it. So what we're going to do is we're going to color it appropriately. So this is set up on a walnut type of board. It's oak. And I'm just going to go with pine for right now. Right here is a feature called Toolpath Color. And what that's going to do is color everything that the tool or the router bit cleared away. But it's going to set it for whatever is highlighted blue down here. So this item is highlighted blue. It's called red stripes. So we're going to open that up and select red. And there are our red stripes. So we're good to go there. So now we're going to turn the red stripes layer off. We're going to go down and turn the white stripes layer on, and then we're going to select the white stripes. And it's highlighted up here. Next thing we're going to do is split our screen left and right. So now our white stripes are highlighted. So we're going to go back into Pocket. We're going to select that. We have the 1/4 inch end mill. We're making one pass there, so we're going to edit our passes and do the same thing. Unfortunately, well, you know what? I'm going to show you a little different technique. I'm going to close this. And what I'm going to do is come over the red stripes, right click, and click duplicate. And so now it duplicated exactly what's on here. But we're just going to change that. So we're going to double click it, and we are going to select the white stripes, which are highlighted right now. And under the toolpath, that is already set up. So we are good to go. So I'm just going to cancel that because it's already there. And we're going to change the name to white stripes. And select that, or calculate, and then change the color right up here from red to white. And click Run or preview the toolpath. So there we go. We've got that. Now we are going to do our stars. So we're going to go back up to layers. We're going to turn the stars layer on, and we are going to click the stars layer so it shows up here, and then we're going to turn our stripes, white stripes off. And we're going to come over our toolpath, we're going to close that, and now we're going to select the Vcarve. Pick that, and now we are going to use a V-bit. So up here, this flat depth should be unchecked for what you're going to be doing here. Now, I'm going to run through the flat depth in a little bit. You're going to learn something else here. There's so much you're learning. yeah, if you're liking this, give me a thumbs up and a comment of what you might think. And if you're new to this stuff, sign up to subscribe to the channel. You can sign up to my email list because I do webinars to teach beginner CNCs and those that are wanting to make money. If you want to make money with your machine, sign up to CNC Entrepreneurs Facebook group. Lots of things to do. I want you to succeed at this and get very creative, let your creative juices flow. Okay, so we're in here. That's unchecked. The start depth should be 0. In fact, the start depth should be 0 for everything you're doing. And we're going to select a V-bit. And we're going to go with the 90 V-bit, which is selected here. But if it wasn't, or the wrong bit was selected, we hit the select button and come over here and find our 90-degree V-bit. So I'm going to use the 90-degree quarter-inch V-bit. That's the one that I use all the time. That's the part of the bit set that I sell. I sell a whole set of bits for beginners. I sell surfacing bits, and I'm expanding all the time. I'm getting ready to get calipers. And yeah, lots of stuff. So you can check out my website, IDC Woodcraft. There's links down below as well. Okay, so I've selected that. I hit OK. And that bit is selected. And we're not going to mess, well, we got raster selected. We're going to select offset. We're doing a V-carve. We don't want to do this with raster right now. We want it to work its way from the inside out. So just to show you, the offset, if you can see, it kind of spirals outward from the middle, whereas a raster, it has a little bit of tracing around the outside, but it goes back and forth on the inside. We don't want it to do that. We want it to be in an offset mode. I've got lots of videos about this kind of stuff, so I'm not going to really explain this here. And we're going to call this, down at the bottom, stars. And we're going to calculate. Now, it didn't work because something went on here. Let's open this back up. Oh, so I had a clearing tool here. In this case, you want that removed as well. If there's a bit in there, all you have to do is just click that checkbox. And we call it stars. I have to select the stars. So we got the stars selected. And we calculate. Now it said there's 40 duplicate vectors identified. And that's because when we did this offset, it actually overlaid stars on top of other stars. So a vector, if I put this vector up for sale, I will have all that eliminated to have a very clean vector. But what Vectric will do will ignore them, as it says here. It says ignoring duplicate vectors. So anything that's laid over top, it's just going to not do anything with. And so we're going to just let it rock and roll. So we click OK. And our stars are run. And we're going to change the color. The stars are highlighted down below. And the stars are white on the flag. So we're going to click that. And then we're going to go preview the selected toolpath. And there are our stars. So we are really close with this thing now. You know, I know this is a long video. But I hope you're getting something out of this, because there's so many lessons in here. Now there's something I'm seeing that I don't like, but we'll take care of it in a little while. You see this with the eagle right there, that little bit of red? That's probably not going to blend in well when the eagle is put in.
And speaking of eagle, that is what we're going to be working on now. And you're going to learn another lesson in this video. We're going to be doing V-carving, but one of the things you're going to run into when you're doing V-carving is sometimes they just run way too deep into the project and it takes away from it. So you're going to learn a whole new thing about toolpaths and doing V-carving that you didn't even know before. All right, so let's start working on the eagle and pick up this little tidbit that's going to help you out a ton. Let's go.
So let's start working on the eagle. So I'm going to close that. We're going to come split our screen right here, side to side, and we are going to turn on the eagle right here, and then we're going to turn the stars off because we don't want them. We're done with them. The reason you turn layers on and off so they're out of the way, don't accidentally pick things like that. And that's why layers come in so handy, and that's why you want to look at your job up front. This is like order of operations when you're putting something together. It makes life so much easier. So what we're going to do is select the entire eagle. And I'm going to use the V-carving tool here. And again, we're set at 0, 0. The flat depth is not checked, but I'm going to show you what that's about here in a little bit. And we're going to pick our router bit, which will be a 90-degree V bit. So that is already selected. So we can't select offset or raster here. It defaults to 1. So we're going to come down and we're just going to call this eagle. And we're going to click calculate. And that's the tool path generation. All that blue is all the paths that the bit is going to be taking. And then we are going to run that tool path. And so there is our eagle. So there's some issues going on with the eagle that I want you to try to learn. Now, the reason I'm teaching you this, I had a call with someone who was actually working with an eagle and a flag in a very different format. And I noticed that one of the things that he, in his project, his V-carving, was very deep in the eagle because he's doing a large flag. And so it's the same thing here. This will look way too deep in this area, this area, this area, here, here, and up by the eye. So we want to shallow that up a little bit. So I'm not going to color up the eagle. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. What I want to do is just cut out the flag. So we're going to close this, and we're going to come up to the profile tool. We're going to select that. Now we have to come over to layers, and we need to find our full body, which is this guy right there. I'm going to select it. We are going to be on the, you know what, I selected a wrong thing. I don't want a pocket toolpath. I want a profile toolpath. We're set at 0. We want to go the full depth of the material, so it's 0.75. If you don't know what it is, you hit Z equals, and that'll plug in the depth of your material. We're going to use a 1/4 inch bit, and this is going to be a down cutting bit. It's going to set up its passes, and we're going to be set up to the outside. I'm set to a climb cut. Now, climb cut will leave a smoother finish than a conventional cut will. So when you're doing your finish cuts, go to a climb cut. I still owe you a video to explain the difference because there is a world of difference. And we're just going to come down and I'm going to select or call it boundary. And we're going to calculate. And the toolpath is shown up. And there is our flag. And the first thing I notice are the walls of the flag are too thin. We want them to be a little bit bigger. So what we're going to do is just take this rectangle over here and we're just going to zoom into it. And I'm going to hold the shift button down and grab the enter button and drag it out a little bit. The shift button will keep it expanding from its center position. And then we're going to go back into that boundary toolpath and just recalculate it. There we go. And I'm going to reset the view. We're going to run all the toolpaths. And there it is. And so our boundary looks a lot better. We might be able to come out just a little bit more so you just follow the same steps. So now we're going to work on this eagle and finalize this out. So how do we get some of this depth out of here? And we need to get that little red spot out. That's easy. We'll come back to that in just a minute. So we're going to go back into the eagle right here by double clicking the bit. And we're going to use this flat depth tool. So right now, this probably goes more than halfway through the material. So I want to limit how far down that's going to go. So we're going to select the flat depth. And we're going to just set a depth of 0.15. And what that'll do is that will create a downward limit of the V bit when it goes down. However, if we don't do some other things, then we're going to have a mess down in here. So I want to show you what this would look like if I don't do a couple of the steps, which I will get to in just a minute. We're going to calculate that, and I'm going to reset this view, and I'm going to run all the toolpaths. And you can see at the bottom of the eagle, these don't go nearly as deep. Let me get this oriented right. Let's click that out of there. But it's messy on the bottom. And that's because the V-bit is trying to cut all that material away. Now you can see it stopped. It didn't go any further than 1.5 or 0.15 inches. So I like that, but we need to clean that up. So we are going to go back into the eagle by double clicking it, and we are going to come down here to use clearance tools. The clearance tool is going to come in and it's going to do some work first to clean this up, and then the V-bit will come in and finish it up. So the clearance tool would be an end mill or something. We have to select the bit. So we're going to hit select. And let's start with a 1/8 inch diameter end mill. And we're going to select that and select, and we're going to calculate this. And then we are going to rerun the toolpath. And now you see it's cleaned things up quite a bit, but we still have some funny noise in here. So we're going to go back into the eagle. Now you see it has created eagle clear, and then it has eagle. That means there's two separate tool paths because there's two separate tools. Tools being router bits. So we're going to select another one. We're going to have a third bit in here. Maybe not. I'm going to select the 16th and remove the 8th. So the 16th and the 8th are now in this field, but I'm going to select the 8th and I'm going to remove it. So now we only have the 16th. That will actually increase the runtime. And let's see what this looks like. So I'm going to reset the entire thing and let the whole thing run out. And look at that. It looks much worse. So we're going to go back in. We're going to select, and we're going to add the 8th back into it. So we click that, and we want the 8th to be first, not second. We can dictate which router bit goes first, the 16th or the 8th. And this arrow right here will move it. So now the 8th is on the bottom. That means the 16th will run first. We don't want that. We want the bigger router bit to run first. So the 8th is on top. And I don't like that we have to do a third bit on this. I imagine there's a way to get around that. There we go. Look at that. So it looks pretty darn good at this point. There's a couple of rough spots right in here. No, that's not a rough spot. That's just the bottom of the V-bit.
This is why I love Vectric so much. It is so powerful and gives you so many tools to do so many different things. What you just learned is a technique that will help you avoid buying more router bits, like a 120-degree bit or a 150-degree bit, when you're doing large carves like this. And yeah, you just went over the top in learning something brand new. Let's just keep going.
So we're just going to do the final doctoring up. The first thing we're going to do is get rid of this red spot right there, and then I got to decide on this other red spot. Do I want to get rid of that or not? And I think I'm going to keep that in here. So what we're going to do is come back over to our drawing, And we're going to split our screens. And I'm going to turn everything on. I'm going to turn all the layers on, except for the bitmap. And the feature we want to get rid of is right here, pretty much center of the eagle, and that's going to be this right here. So I'm going to delete that, and you can see there's a little piece right there. It did not cut that. I'm just going to delete that too. We don't need it. And I'm going to open up my toolpath. There's a little tab right here. So I just click that. So I'm still in the drawing mode. And I'm just going to come down here to the calculator and hit recalculate. It's going to recalculate that. And then I'm going to open that up again. And I'm going to click this here, which is the preview toolpaths button. And I'm going to reset the entire thing. And I'm going to run all the toolpaths. Let it run out, and then I'm going to expand this screen, and I'm going to double click the outside boundary, and it looks pretty good. I like everything, so we're going to do one final touch, and this will be done. Now remember, if you want this vector, it's going to be available to you on Etsy. Is there anything else that just looks goofy? I mean, this little red area might look a little goofy. It looks a little funny right here. That's because of the 1/4" end mill, but I'm okay with that. I tell you what, I am going to expand this just a little bit bigger for the vector file, so that's not quite there, and we'll see just like a little hump right there. It'll look much more natural. Okay, so we are going to color this in. I want that eagle to be black. So we're going to come back into the eagle clear, and up here, we're going to change the color to black. So we have some black in there. We're going to go to the next one, eagle clear 2, and change it to black. We're good to go there, and then we're going to go to the final one, which is eagle, and we're going to change that to black. There you go. Now I'm going to show you something kind of cool. I'm going to go back to eagle clear. I'm going to change that color to orange. And look at this. Kind of gives it a whole new look, doesn't it? So I kind of like that, but I'm not going to paint it like that. I don't quite have that patience.
Okay, obviously we are very close to the end. There's 3 more things we're going to do. We are going to just put the blue in the union just to make it look good, and then we are going to add tabs. I forgot to do that. And then we're going to generate our toolpath. So let's just get back into it, get this finished up. If you're here still, I got to hand it to you. You know, this took a lot of patience on your part, but you've learned so much. All right, let's go in and wrap this thing up.
Okay, let's take care of the union first. We're going to close this, and we are going to split our screens. And you want to just turn your union on so that you can see it. And it's on here, so I'm just going to highlight it, select it, and we're going to go back into pocket mode. And I'm just going to cut this shallow so I can put blue on it. This is not a necessary part of this job. And so I'm going to make it a 0.02 deep. And we're just going to go in an offset. Now I'm going to put the name as union, and this is something I forgot to do that you want to do with all your toolpaths. You want to just put in the end what your bit size is. So I'm putting a 1/4 EM. So I know that's a 1/4" end mill, and I'll calculate and then change the color right up here to blue. And then we'll run that, and well, it's already turned blue, so that's good. And we are good. So you want to go back in, we're going to close that, and just change your names to the right bit that it's going to be using. So for the red stripes, it's going to be the 1/4" end mill. Now, the red stripes clear is a different bit. So you want to check that out. So we're double clicking it, and the different bit is the 1/8 end mill. So we're just going to go back in there, we're going to close that, and we're going to go back into clear on the red stripes, rename it with at the end to say 1-8 EM. And you'll want to do that all the way down as you create the layers. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is add tabs to our project so that it holds on to this material until the job is completely done. So to do that, we have to go back into Boundary, select it, and we're going to come down here, Add Tabs. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to make my tabs a little beefy, so they're going to be a 0.125 in length, and then the thickness will be 0.15. I'm going to select Edit Tabs, and I want to have 6 tabs, so we just change our number accordingly till it says 6, and then we hit the button Add Tabs. Now you're going to look over here, and you're going to see that it put tabs 2 on the side and 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. We don't want the ones on the side, so you can either just click it and drag it around, or you can just click it and let it go, and then click somewhere on the line. And then we come back over, we add tabs, select that, and just calculate from there. And we rerun our project. We're going to run everything over after reset. I hit the reset when I was right in the middle of it, so got to do it again. And there's everything, and now we have tabs in our project. Let me just expand that, and there are our tabs right there. All right, so it's time for Toolpaths. So we're going to close this, and now we're going to go into the save mode. So we hit that, and when you have so many different toolpaths, you want the Vectric to just bring them all together as much as possible. The thing you want to remember is you want to go from your biggest end mill to your smallest, so it'd be 1/4 inch, and then our 1/8 inch, and if we use a 1/16, that would be the 1/3, and then you go into your V carving tools. So in order to just run all the tool paths at once, because I am very comfortable with what I've done, I am going to select the 3rd one, and it says visible toolpaths to multiple files, and then it's checked group where possible, so whenever it can, it'll merge 2 of these items in the toolpath area together or more. You want to select the toolpath so everything is highlighted, and then you click Save Toolpaths. Now, just so you know, I use a USB drive, a flash drive, so I'll load all my G code onto that and then import the programs that I want to run accordingly, and then I load the next one in. But if you have a post processor which will allow you to run directly to your machine, this feature right here, this checkbox, will be not grayed out. You'll be able to select it. So with all the toolpaths down here selected, I'm going to click Save Toolpaths, and it now imported those toolpaths into my directory. I'm going to go up. There. We're going to go up there. And because I think I did it before as I rehearsed this. Now you see there's a name in here already, and it has 1/8 end mills. The name is Red Stripes Clear. So what I'm going to do is take out the 1/8 end mill, and I'm going to take out the clear. I'm going to take out everything, and I'm going to title it Eagle, and you'll understand why in just a moment. And I'm going to click Save. Now if we go to that directory, just let me get through this. Where is it? It should be right there. And there are all our files. So now they're all named Eagle. That was the name I changed it to. And then it tells you all the different files. So this is the 1/8 end mill. It says it right there. There's a 1/4 inch end mill. Because I didn't change the name on these other things, the router bit does not show up, and that's why you want that to be there. Then you'll know that you can just methodically work through the 1/4 inch end mills, and then work your way to the 1/8 inch end mills, and then work your way to the V bits. And that is it. So we are done. If this helped you out, give me a thumbs up and go have a break. I certainly am going to go have a beer. And I hope you have yourself a great day.